Hey, if you missed this last Sunday in the Grave Robber series, it was an awesome day. First of all, it was an awesome day because it was the end of our Relate conference, which was absolutely awesome. More kids than we've ever had. And honestly, at our churches on Sunday morning, more people than we've ever had, except for a launch day or an Easter. So it was just a great day all the way around. We talked about the guy who was by the pool of Bethesda yesterday. And Jesus, that was the first person Jesus ever picked out for a miracle. Everybody else came to Jesus and said, hey, can you help us? But Jesus actually walked out, got to know some of the stories that were going on there that day, and picked this guy out for a miracle. And it's really cool to think about. This guy has not been able to walk for 38 years. 38 years this guy's not been able to walk. And one of the saddest statements in all of Scripture is this guy tells Jesus, I have not been able to get in the water because there's nobody to help me. There's nobody to help me. Like for 38 years, people with a skin rash they've had for a week have stepped over this guy to get in the water. But the deal with the water was that they believed, and we don't know if it's true or not, but it's what they believed. And so it's important to this guy that the pool there at Bethesda, that it stirred at times, and it was an angel stirring it. And so when an angel stirred it, when they thought an angel stirred it, if the first person in could be possibly healed. And so for 38 years, other people have been choosing to put whatever need they had that was not as bad as his probably ahead of their own. And they didn't have one single friend that would sit with him and say, hey, I'm gonna take you, I'm gonna put you in the water when this happens. And so it just really is kind of a real call to us to really be a real community. To really, like when we're in church on Sunday mornings, to turn around and look at somebody we don't know and say, tell me your story. We don't really love doing that because sometimes people break down in tears. And that's just uncomfortable, and that's messy, and we'd have to figure out how what we're going to do with that. And it's just better if people just kind of wave and, hey, how you doing? Hey, is it your first time? Great, nice to have you here, and move on. But we really need to be community for people, and we need to be inviting people into our community groups. And if you're around the church, you need to be in a community group. You never want to be that person who says, I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. But that's not really the point. The really cool thing about the interaction with Jesus and this guy is that Jesus asked him a couple of just insane questions. And one of them he asked him is, do you want to get well? Do you want to get well? He asked a guy, I can't walk. Do you want to get well? It almost seems rude. But really, when you think about it, we choose predictability over change all the time, don't we? There's all these huge things in life that we'd love to see God do in a huge way, but the fact of the matter is, I'm not so sure that we really want God coming on our lives and moving things around. And, we kind of want God just to tweak here or there, move some things here or there. But in the big things that we'd love to see God just do in a massive way, it also kind of gives us this idea that we got to release control to Him. And if we release control to Him, then that makes us nervous because we're control freaks. And so he's asking this guy when he says, do you really want to get well? He's asking him, are you ready for a whole different routine? Are you ready for everything that you know about life to have to change? Are you ready now? You're going to have to go out and get a job. You're going to have to go out. You don't have any marketable skills. Are you ready for me to move into your life and work in a powerful way? And are you ready for all the changes that could come about as a result? And a lot of times, most of us would say, I'd rather just kind of keep doing the same thing I'm comfortable with. I'd rather just keep doing the same thing I know than to kind of venture out and really trust God in a huge way and see God just kind of upend all the details of my life. We're not really that keen on that idea. And so the bottom line on Sunday morning was that Jesus' command came with the power to fulfill what Jesus asked this guy. Here's what Jesus asked the guy. He said, get up. Now think about that. The two things he says to him is he says, hey, do you want to get well? And the second thing he says is get up. He tells a man who can't walk to get up. But Jesus' command came with the power to fulfill it. Here's the main thing I want you to think about this week. All of us say we trust God. If you come to church regularly, you say you trust God, probably. There's a lot of people who try out our churches that don't know God, don't trust God, and that's cool. But for the most part, people who make it a habit to come every week, they trust God. They say they trust God. But how seldom do we put ourselves in the position where we really need to? We're control freaks. We don't. We try to make sure everything is manageable, everything's in our comfort zone, and we've got everything right where we want it. The fact of the matter is, you don't see God do any miracles when you take that approach.